Prince's last Diddy recording played in trial.
What if I told you that a recording from one of the greatest musicians of all time, Prince, was about to expose one of Hollywood's most powerful figures, the man who built an empire in music, fashion, and media, Sean Diddy Combs? A chilling, ghostly testimony from beyond the grave, one that would send shockwaves through Hollywood and the music industry. And in the midst of a high-profile trial, it would unravel the carefully constructed persona of a man who's always been in control. Day 3 of the trial, and Diddy, always the picture of composure and confidence, was no longer the man he portrayed to the world. Something was about to happen, something that would destroy his facade forever. The question isn't just about what's in the recording that left Diddy speechless. It's about what Prince knew and how it could turn the tide of an already explosive case.
Cassie said he would get physical. That one male guy who did things with Diddy and Cassie said he witnessed him get physical. Don, so again, we talked about how the domestic charges aren't, what he's being, what he's on trial for. But boy, it's stacking up. And I feel that the jury is going to take that into consideration.
The first Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house. So you want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are swinging on swings. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And so the one thing that makes this party different than a Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security in the party.
The courtroom on day 3 felt like any other. At first, the buzz of journalists rushing to claim their best seats, celebrities slipping in from side doors, their faces hidden beneath dark sunglasses, trying to avoid the public eye, lawyers meticulously reviewing their papers, some whispering, others scanning through their notes. It felt almost routine, but something was different. Security, usually tight for high-profile cases, had doubled. Guards stood at every corner of the courtroom. That was not unusual, but there was something unsettling in the air. This trial, which had already captured the world's attention, was about to get even more intense. But it was not just the security. There was a change in the way people were behaving, a tension that grew with every passing moment. The usual number of security officers had doubled. 4 were now stationed right behind Diddy's table, and no one could ignore the feeling that something big was about to unfold. Then something extraordinary happened. The courtroom was electric, not from the usual hustle of legal battles, but from a new, almost prescient sense of anticipation. Everyone in that room could feel it. The prosecution was holding something back, something big. They had a bombshell ready, but it was not just about what they had prepared. It was about the moment they chose to reveal it.
That I don't know, right? What I know is that he was really health conscious. He was a vegan. He didn't abuse alcohol. I didn't know of him drug. He worked out, so.
I'm just trying to listen. I mean, it's a lot of this stuff that I've heard and seen already. I'm really trying to connect the dots here and think like, damn, what if Prince was what if he caught wind of some, I'll just say allegedly, stuff that Diddy might have been doing that seems to be, like, I ain't talking about consensual things, I'm talking about illegal things or whatever. But I'm just like, would Diddy be that dumb to not think that Prince, this celebrity, has cameras in his house as well? So I'm just trying to think, because if Prince has cameras and he's recording stuff, to get some dirt on Diddy, I don't know. I feel like Diddy, with all his cameras that he allegedly had, or no, they actually found cameras.
The clock ticked down to an almost unbearable silence. The judge entered, gave his usual formal greeting, but today he paused before continuing. His gaze swept the room, lingering a little longer than usual. There was something different in his eyes. He knew what was coming. He had seen this before. The prosecution, looking unfazed, walked up to the bench. They held a small black device in their hands. The room waited, holding its breath. Everyone in the courtroom could feel it. This was the moment that would change everything. As the prosecutor composure walked up to the microphone and made a chilling announcement. The words echoed through the room. Today, we present audio evidence, an authenticated recording from Prince Rogers Nelson made just weeks before his death. It was not just a recording, it was a testimony, a ghostly testimony from beyond the grave. The legend who had shaped music for decades was about to speak, even if he was not alive to see the consequences. The defense objected immediately. They had no idea what was coming, but they knew it was huge. The judge, however, was not moved by their objections. The recording was played. The moment Prince's voice filled the courtroom, there was a shift. A palpable energy surged through the space. Diddy's face changed. His confident expression from the first 2 days gone. His eyes widened and a wave of panic washed over him. His legal team huddled closer, whispering furiously. The composure he'd so carefully crafted over the years began to disintegrate. The room fell completely silent as Prince's voice filled the speakers, cutting through the air like a knife. He was not speaking in the charismatic, bold tone he had used on stage. This was private, personal, vulnerable. The tone of his voice was not just a message, it was a warning. I'm making this recording because I do not know who to trust anymore. Those words hit the courtroom like a freight train. The world had just heard something private, something Prince had never intended to be revealed. He was speaking about something deeply troubling. What came next shocked everyone. Prince began detailing events, dates, and places where he had witnessed things that were not just wrong, but criminal. He named names, specifically Diddy. What followed was not just confirmation of previous accusations. Prince wasn't speculating. He was not giving secondhand accounts. He was giving a direct, first-hand account of what happened at Diddy's infamous parties that had already been discussed by witnesses. The details were chilling. Prince described how artists were manipulated, separated from their teams, and placed in situations where they could not escape. He spoke of how they came to these parties expecting a big break, only to find themselves trapped. There was no denying the severity of what he was describing. The prosecution did not just get lucky, they had the smoking gun, and it wasn't a simple accusation, it was a meticulous, direct, unassailable statement. Diddy could not deny it. Prince had been there, and now the whole world knew the truth. The moment Prince's voice dropped the bombshell, the entire courtroom fell still. Diddy's expression faltered, his stone-cold demeanor cracked, his shoulders tensed, and his breath grew shallow. He was no longer the untouchable mogul he had presented himself to be. He was exposed. It was not just about what Prince said, it was the way Diddy responded. His eyes darted nervously around the room. He looked for an escape, for something to hold on to, but there was nothing. The damage was done. Prince's voice continued, recounting the exact setup of these parties, the people involved, the dates, details no one else could have known. Diddy sat frozen, his hand trembling as he tried to hold onto the table, as if it could anchor him. Then came the tipping point. Prince's voice described a confrontation that took place at a Grammy after-party in 2016, where Prince had directly confronted Diddy about his actions. The words were clear and damning. "You might be Prince," Diddy reportedly said, "but you are not untouchable." At that moment, Diddy's composure shattered. He jumped up from his seat, shouting, "That's a lie!" His outburst was so sudden that everyone in the courtroom jumped. The judge banged his gavel, demanding order. It was over. The man who had been so composed for the last 2 days was now publicly unraveling.
Crucial here. And these are texts from 2009, man. That was when they were first getting in the relationship. She was young. Obviously, they were in the honeymoon stage and she was stoked to like, oh my God, I'm with Diddy. I'm living this lavish lifestyle. Of course, she's going to be saying things that she knows will curry favor with him to keep it going. She was into the freak-offs herself and was like a willing participant and was into all the freaky stuff. And essentially, that was the crux of what they were trying to do yesterday.
And do you think they proved that or not?
I mean, there's texts like that from 2009, I'm always ready to freak off. There was some other texts where she was referencing like hitting him up about the FOs, is what they were referring to him. To me, like, yes, this doesn't look good, but at the same time, I think the timeline is
Cassie Ventura on the witness stand for a 4th day in the federal criminal trial against hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The defense continuing cross-examination this morning, confronting her with dozens of her own messages, many explicit, hoping to convince the jury she was an eager sexual partner who matched Combs' desires. "I'm always ready to freak off," one message said.
In retrospect, it was clear that the prosecution had been waiting for this moment. They had played Diddy's ego, studied his past courtroom behavior, and waited for him to let his guard down. The prosecution had spent months preparing for this. They did not just happen to have a recording from Prince. They had spent weeks authenticating it. 3 separate audio experts had verified that it had not been altered in any way. They knew what they were doing. They were working like chess players, carefully planning each move. They waited until Diddy's confidence was at its highest, then dropped the bombshell at the exact moment when he would be most vulnerable. The defense was in full crisis mode. An emergency motion was filed by Diddy's legal team to exclude the recording, but the judge denied the request immediately. The motion was seen for what it was, a last-ditch effort to salvage a case that was crumbling. As the trial continued, the prosecution showed no mercy. They presented additional evidence, financial records, text messages, and more witness testimony, all of which aligned perfectly with what Prince had described. Diddy's world was falling apart. His legal team, once confident, was now scrambling. Diddy himself was physically shaking, his previously unflappable demeanor replaced with panic. His hands trembled, his face was pale. He had no control over what was happening. The very persona he had spent decades building was now in shambles.
Became such a big deal back then is ever since my 3rd album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it, and I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise, and they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change, because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation we're in right today. They're not going to exist much longer. But it's not like we're against them or anything like that. The idea is that we find better ways of working with one another. It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyright. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they
By the end of the day, the courtroom had witnessed something extraordinary. Diddy had gone from being the powerful mogul facing false accusations to a desperate man whose carefully constructed public image had been shattered in front of everyone. The prosecution had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. Not only had they provided evidence that was irrefutable, but they had done it in a way that no one could ignore. They had played their cards perfectly, timing everything to expose Diddy's weakness when it mattered most. As the trial resumes tomorrow, everyone is asking one question: what else is hidden in Prince's vault? What other secrets did he document? And who else is in danger of being exposed? What's clear is this: Diddy's empire is crumbling, and the truth is coming to light in ways no one ever imagined.